Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy that we find ourselves here today. Yet, here we are. Here with you today, trying to do something that sometimes seems impossible. 1,000% with you guys. It sometimes feels impossible to do the show, impossible to get a time to do everything, and to try to make actual change, right? I think that's what it always started out as, is like, let me make change. Let me do what I can in my area, in my local area. Let me try to affect change and go from there. And it just ballooned into where it's at today. And then it also popped in. This ties into, again, like what we're going to be talking about later on in the show with you guys. Just the structure of the show, where we're at now. I did like a little bit of an experiment type thing earlier this week where I didn't really post on social media, like at all. And that ties into me doing the show, me covering content, me doing the switch up halfway through the year, right? And why it's so important to do that. But salutations, my friends. I'm jumping right ahead into it, straight up into it. Salutations, my friends, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of Factions of Freedom. I'm your host, Noisera, Freedom Faction, whichever one you prefer, and this is show number 1619, season 16, episode 19. And I have titled this episode, A Western Reformation, Poisonous Pressure, and Soft Rolling Disclosure. Yeah, it's weird. Like, I'll shoot you straight. Because of the little experiment thing that we did earlier this week, where we're just like not posting, period, after grinding heavily for a couple of months on all these platforms, and then just taking like a little bit of a break to where it's like, you know what, let's see what happens if we start switching stuff up, right? Because like we're putting in a crazy amount of work, and I keep saying this because it ties into, if anything, what we talked about just last week with you guys, and what you're going to begin to see in society as a whole. What Michael Saylor said when he's like, hey, hard work, talent, that stuff's not going to pay off in the AI era. You know, you got to be a little bit smarter. And it's a wink and a nod towards learning to adapt to the times. Like, who would have thought about podcasting? Who would have thought about all this different stuff that we do today that we take for granted? And we're not really thinking about tomorrow. We're not thinking about the future. We're not thinking about where things can be and how these people have control of it right now, because we're dealing with their creations of yesteryear. And the reason I'm doing all this at the start of the show is so people understand that, hey, this is going to be a different episode. We're not necessarily blitzing through content, being shock jockeys and sensationalists. We're like, hey, maybe that era, if anything, of covering content, or at least looking at things in that way, that might not be the way to go anymore, right? It might be time to do something completely different. And that's exactly what we're doing. And it's just weird, man. It's weird to do something different. It's weird to get good results. It's weird to not necessarily recognize faults within your own, but just deficiencies and things that you have to do. Right. And with that being said, let me go ahead and just start flipping into the updates and the intro of the show. It'll all make sense as we continue to go from there. If you guys want to support this operation, the best way to do so is to go to patreon.com/noise. Patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support this operation in its current configuration. And ironically enough, I guess that's what you guys were hearing just right there. We're switching configs. We're switching configurations. The same way Blog Talk Radio switched up on us just last year, removing over 500 plus episodes after we had been with them since at least 2012. But don't worry, we were able to get those episodes recovered, and now you can find them over at Spreaker, Google, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, Alexa, Podcast Addict, and every other major podcasting platform. That's right, we were able to recover our YouTubes from 2014, our Noise era, as well as our backup channel. We've been posting as well over there on Odyssey, and what's wild is it's just crypto type stuff, decentralization type stuff, backing up the operation all the way to 2018 over there. We have been, as I said before, not necessarily posting this week on Instagram and TikTok and Substack and trying to keep up with the kids and the AI. We haven't been doing that this week. We took a break. And what's wild is we posted a single video, a single clip over there on our Twitter early this week of Oliver Tree, and it's got like 600,000 views. We went from having like 300 to 500 to 800 followers. And that really just kind of like stuck it to me. The quantum leap in followers with the least amount of work, and how I'm tired of literally being like fucking screwed, bro. I'm tired of sitting over here just like getting screwed by Instagram. Like, I'm not into BDSM. I'm not into just like pain. I'm not into like that kind of crap, bro. I had 306,000 followers at one point in time, and they yanked the rug out from underneath me. And I did a video about this, and I think that's why I'm like getting pissed and starting the show off a little bit differently this way. We will not get back to Instagram the way that we want. And we need to understand that it is a completely different ball game. We need to adapt to the times or we will die. And quite frankly, we're hanging on by a thread. This is why you hear me saying, go to patreon.com/NOIZCE. This is why you see me trying to go to all these different platforms like Twitter, Substack, TikTok, because like I do need monetization. Sounds wild. And that's not, a wild thing to say. When we had started this out 16 seasons ago, that was not a thing. But now it's a thing. Now I'm competing against kids, bots, AI, and all this other crap for just $5 an hour of your time. And this is the reality of the world that we now live in. And this is why when I'm talking about the switch up of the configuration, it's not like a shill. This is me saying, hey, we've also got to say goodbye to the times that we came from as well. Appreciate them. Let them go so that we can also appreciate what's coming to us. Patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support us in this current configuration, because I'm telling you, my friends, we are switching it up. We hit it hard this whole half of the year for really nothing. And it's good to have people. We've got the Instagram group chat and things like that. But when it comes to looking at an audit of the operation, how we're doing, it's just we're on a life. We're hanging on by a thread. And I'm not coming to you saying this. I'm saying, all right, it might be time for us to come out of hibernation and start taking stuff a little bit serious. We started the Unfinished Thoughts, the mini casts, right? Reviving those as well. And so we've got all of these different methods, but it boils down to your guys' continued support, either liking the episode, sharing it, retweeting it, getting the article out, becoming a Patreon exclusive member. And I'm telling you, like, what's wild about me gaining like all those followers, these are people that had never heard of Factions of Freedom. These are people that had never known that we had 16 plus seasons. There's an entire billions worth of people out there, millions. And I'm worried about a tiny fraction for the faction of freedom. We got to start thinking different, bro. We got to start dreaming larger, man. We got to start wanting more. Support us. Support us through Rumble. Support us through YouTube. Support us through Coffee. Support us through PayPal, Patreon, Cash App, and more. And if you don't, that's okay. We're going to start putting out content over on Substack and X articles and getting it out there to people that will support us. We need you guys. There's nothing else for me to say. There really, truly is nothing else for me to say. You would rather go give money to a stranger than somebody that you know is out here bag working and doing all of this type of stuff for you and more. So, yeah, it's a little bit hard to find the time, but when we do, we are here and we show up for you. Normally, this is the part of the show pitch where I talk about New Leaf Natural CBD oil and My Patriot Supply durable goods. But if you're not taking care of your health in a time like this, when you know they're preparing like bioweapons, and you've got people like Tulsi Gabbard getting up there saying, hey, we funded over 150 plus of these, getting caught, then you're not paying attention. If you're not getting storable goods, if you're not like, because these places that have storable goods, you can even go to Costco, you can go to Walmart, you can go to Sam's Club. They have like layaway programs and they have like structured payment programs where you can loan programs where you can go get storable goods. You need to be prepared. These people are trying to jack up prices. It's the economic squeeze is a reason why you need to be prepared. But again, I think that's going to go ahead and do it for me. Otherwise, I'm going to start yelling and yelling more. Let's go ahead and start jumping into the content for this segment, catching up on what just went down. Here's Elon Musk saying that SpaceX is preparing to take humanity to the moon, Mars, and beyond.
They were simply not pursuing the technology that's necessary to make life multiplanetary, to make Star Trek, to make the exciting science futures that we've read about real. And that's what SpaceX is all about, is to take the fiction out of science fiction and create an exciting, inspiring future for everyone. We want to be able to take anyone who wants to go to the moon, anyone who wants to go to Mars, or anywhere in the solar system, and maybe beyond the solar system at some point. We want to be able to take you there. Not just a few astronauts. I mean, literally you. If you watch, whoever you are watching this, SpaceX wants to be able to take you to the moon, take you to Mars, and ultimately beyond. They were simply not pursuing the technology that's necessary to make life multiplanetary.
In a recent video shared widely on X, Elon Musk reiterated SpaceX's ambitious goal, transforming humanity into a multiplanetary species by enabling routine travel to the moon, Mars, and eventually beyond our solar system. Speaking at a SpaceX event, Musk emphasized making space accessible not just for the elite astronauts, but for broader human exploration and settlement. Quote, we want to take the fiction out of science fiction. You think it'll happen? You think we'll go to the moon? You think we'll go to the Mars? You think we'll go to the beyond? And the reason I say that is because we're in a time frame where they're telling us that aliens are coming. We're shooting up astronauts all of a sudden, right? And all of a sudden they want to send us up there too. You have people saying, hey, we're getting prepared for an alien invasion. DARPA says they have space-based weaponry. And all of a sudden, Elon Musk, the man who became the world's richest trillionaire, like the world's first trillionaire, starts saying, hey, let's start sending humans multiplanetary. Let's start creating whole new systems of government, whole new thought processes, and whole new ideologies, whole new multiplanetary species. And what's wild is throughout the entirety of this season so far, you've heard me allude to that fact, allude to eugenics, allude to transhumanism, allude to biohacking, genetic modification, designer babies, the fracturing of humanity. And now the richest man in the world wants to make us multiplanetary. Are there other heavenly bodies that we can inhabit? Or are we here? Are they going to get us all centralized and located in one area of the world and then just start shipping people to remote parts of the world and saying, oh, well, this is the Mars. This is the moon. You build this out. I'm not quite sure what they've got going on, but it's wild how they tell us that they're preparing for space when we see them preparing for things underground. Speaking of underground, moving forward with the show, scientists issue alert as California's risk of apocalyptic earthquakes spike dramatically. This comes from Frank Bergman of Slate News. They put this up June 16th. And I was just captivated by this picture. Like, this is crazy. This is a crazy looking picture. Audio listeners, you guys can't see it, but it's just like a massive chasm, you know, just in God knows where, California. I don't know if this is AI, but it's not looking good. It says world-renowned American and European scientists have issued a chilling alert after alarming earthquake data revealed that Southern California may be on the verge of an, quote, apocalyptic event. It says that scientists are warning that Southern California may be approaching a dangerous tipping point after new research revealed tectonic stress levels have reached some of the highest levels seen in the last 1,000 years. The unsettling findings have reignited fears on the long predicted, quote, big one, and raised concerns that a catastrophic multi-fault earthquake could devastate some of the most densely populated regions in the United States. Let's watch what this video has to say.
Scientists say California is primed for an apocalyptic earthquake, and the numbers are terrifying. A new geological study found that parts of California's fault system may be carrying more built-up stress than at any point in the last 1,000 years. 1,000 years. Let that sink in. Before the United States existed, before Columbus crossed the Atlantic, before the modern world, the pressure was building. And according to researchers, much of that pressure is still sitting underground today, waiting, locked beneath millions of people who have no idea what's happening beneath their feet. No warning lights, no countdown clock, no evacuation order. Only a silent accumulation of energy deep below California. Scientists focused on a critical region where major fault lines intersect near Los Angeles. Some researchers describe it as an earthquake gate because if a large rupture starts there, it may not stay there. That's the concern. One fault triggers another, then another, then another. A chain reaction beneath one of the most populated regions in America. Think about what's at stake. Homes, highways, hospitals, airports, power grids, water systems, entire communities, all sitting above fault systems that researchers say are carrying extraordinary levels of stress. Scientists can't tell you the day. They can't tell you the month. They can't tell you the year, but they can tell you something else. The pressure has been building for centuries, and pressure doesn't disappear. It gets released. The only question is how much and when, because every day millions of people wake up, go to work, drive to school, board flights, and live their lives above fault lines that have produced some of the most destructive earthquakes in American history. Now, researchers are warning that the stress levels may be among the highest seen in 1,000 years. That's why people are asking the question nobody wants to answer. If the pressure has been building for centuries, what happens when it finally breaks?
It sinks. California sinks. This is why they say escape from LA and escape from New York, because California is going to sink. And I'm not saying this to like doom.
Scientists say California
to sound doomerism, you know, but there's been multiple depictions of both California and New York City submerged, right? And I'm not a big follower of like the San Andreas Fault or any of that type of stuff, but you know, hey, it's looking like we live in a critical juncture of a time period. That's all I'm going to say. Later on in the segment, we have a video clip of Elon Musk talking about his Boring Company. Like, he's not talking about it. He's just showing some of the technology that they have. And I just wanted to have that in this segment to reiterate the fact that we're dealing with people who have gone underground, right? Who do know about geology, underground structures, architectures, buildings, right? Things like this. And what I've been saying throughout this whole season so far, that they're going underground. They're going underground. It's very true, right? And if they're in parts of America, most likely underneath Denver, because that's like the most dense and secure area. That's why Denver International Airport is just like the new capital of the new world order, because of all these different things that are going to take place. Like, this is the real climate change. This is the real geoengineering. This is the real weather modification. Now we're talking about pole shift type stuff, because it's like it's historic. It's cyclical. We go through these catastrophes, right? And Earth is rumbling and groaning. They're going underground. Earth is changing, right? We go through these time periods. It's not a fantastical thought. This isn't just like hype or hyperbole or any of that type of thing. You see. But let's go ahead and proceed forward. Here is Graham Hancock saying that we are showing all of the signs of every ancient civilization before it repeats. Ancient collapse.
When I look at our civilization today, I don't want to go off on a rant, but when I look at our civilization today, I see a civilization that ticks all the mythological boxes, every single one for the next lost civilization. And I envisage a situation 10 or 15,000 years from now when we will be a myth, a fantasy that our ancestors actually could speak to one another on opposite sides of the planet, that our ancestors, they could fly to the moon, they could go to the depths of the ocean. The archaeologists of that time will say, complete fantasy, just made up, never happened, but it did. We're that lost civilization. And we don't need a comet, and we don't need solar activity because we're so psychically messed up as a species, we'll probably end up doing it to ourselves. That's what nuclear weapons are about. Mass species suicide. And the mental processes that drive that. Very dangerous, very effective of the world we live in. Hatred is a psychic force, and the way it's being generated around the world at the moment and mobilized and focused is it's got to be bad for all of us.
Especially when we have such powers to self-destruct.
Oh, it's terrible. This is what drives me nuts, is looking at the low consciousness level of the so-called leaders on this planet. When I look around the whole bunch of them, I just see very low consciousness individuals who define everything in material terms, who are focused on. This also gets me into trouble, but I think nationalism is something that humanity needs to grow out of. We need to grow out of nationalism. It's just an extension of tribalism. We need to grow out of it soon. And let me be clear, I am not talking about world government. I don't want anything I don't want any government. I'm an anarchist, basically. That's what anarchy means. It means without government. I don't want any government at all. But we have to get past this notion that by accident, I was born with this particular skin, The notion is that these accidents of birth define us, that we must somehow massively respect and love people who look like us and kind of hate and fear people who don't look like us. We have to get past that. We have to get past that as a species. It's really important. All human beings everywhere, all the same fundamentally. Of course, we're vastly diverse. We have incredible different gifts. I value and appreciate the differences in different cultures all around the world. This is wonderful, but it doesn't have to come with, and we are better than you, and we're going to kill you because you don't share our ideas. When I look at our civilization today,
what's crazy is you find out later on in that interview that Graham Hancock is scheduled to go through an operation that he may or may not wake up from. And I guess he was facing some slanderous accounts prior to that taping, and he wanted to get up there and go clear out his name. And it's just been very interesting to see his interview and see him talk about these type of things. It's also been very interesting to see people like Jason Brashears of Archaics not take it easy, even if Graham is sick. He's done a series of videos, not necessarily exposing Graham Hancock and his chronology and his calendrics and his timing of events, calling him out with the Younger Dryas theory, but just still staying true to it. So it's sad to see Graham Hancock like this, and it's also very interesting to see the response to the so-called alternative community with this. But he's absolutely correct, and this is something that you've been hearing me talk about for the past couple seasons as well over here on the show. How we are experiencing. That's why they talk about the Great Reset. And a couple of years ago, whenever I started doing a lot of research into the orphan trains, the Cabbage Patch Kids, repopulation theory, Tartaria, ancient architecture, how long is this version of America? They're right. Graham Hancock's right. We do need to evolve out of nationalism. It is a evolution of tribalism, there was an evidence of a global civilization prior to just ours. And what we have now is just that, a whole new age, a new era, a new world that is ahead of us as we're saying goodbye to this old world. And to his point, as he was talking about this earlier in his conversation, he was talking about the low consciousness individuals, right, that are driving this. And this is one of the reasons why I had to take a break, man. I didn't even take a break, but why I just didn't post this week, because I felt dirty posting that video about Carmelo Anthony. I felt dirty covering Carmelo Anthony. I feel dirty looking at that type of stuff, because it's like with everything we've got going on right now, with the psychoid layer being affected the way that it is, with how jacked up things are and how mentally sensitive folks are, we do not need to post more sensationalized or more emotionally reactive content like that. Like, people are sensitive these days, you see. And so he's right. We do have low consciousness individuals who are running things. That's what I said the other week. I'm getting very tired of posting about low IQ, low value content simply because I want to prove to people over here on Instagram that we're still here, battling censorship. Like, it's not even about that type of crap, honestly. It really truly isn't. And he's absolutely correct as well when he says that there's hatred being mobilized and forced on people. He's absolutely correct. And we will do it to ourselves. And we are doing that. That's that Atlantean moment that we've discussed so many times on the show, the nuclear football being passed around, right? AI, or even situations like this, speaking of biblical catastrophes and wiping humanity out in ancient collapse, scientists are concerned that the latest gene editing of human embryos could, quote, open the floodgates. According to a report from Futurism, a team of researchers has conducted gene editing on human zygotes, the earliest single-cell stage of embryos, reigniting intense debate over the technology's future application. This is biblical. These ancient cyclical collapse are biblical. The floodgates, opening of the flood, us wiping out humanity, these genetic corruptions, both of these things go hand in hand. The floodgates of just wiping out ourselves. The experiment detailed. There was one of these articles. Sorry, just to interrupt, but there was one of these articles that I remember reading earlier last week, where it was talking about He Jiankui, the Chinese geneticist that made Nana and Lulu, who were cancer resistant. I reference them all the time. But it says the experiment, detailed in a yet to be peer-reviewed paper, was led by Columbia University geneticist Dieter Egle, using a precise technique known as base editing, which targets a single DNA base rather than cutting larger segments as with traditional CRISPR. The team modified 2 specific genomic sites involved in cholesterol metabolism and hemoglobin production. These sites were chosen because they are well studied in other gene editing contexts, not for immediate therapeutic promise in embryos. The researchers emphasized that their work was not aimed at creating a new medical treatment, but at providing base editing could safely modify embryonic DNA without the risks of mosaicism or other damage seen in prior CRISPR attempts. The edited embryos were not implanted or carried to term. Yes, I think you guys get the picture. This is another way that we can wipe ourselves out in the very near future, and that they plan to actually wipe us out. You see. So they're getting prepared for this. The devolution of humanity, the degeneration of humanity, the collapse of society. And what's so wild these days, because I keep talking about these cyclical collapses, like there's all the side, it's a circle, right? Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, sometimes it goes around, sometimes it goes under. We're in the Kali Yuga. We're in the bottom part. We're at the beginning part of the Kali Yuga, the downtrodden part. And that's what you're experiencing, right? Just the devolution, the energy not being the same, man. I'm not quite sure how to describe it other than that. We have entered into like a different phase of this agenda, a different phase of time, of chronology. And that's why they're just doing all of this. You see, check this out right here. Leaked invites to Peter Thiel's upcoming secret society enclave or conclave in Dublin. So we got another one that's just fleeing the country, right? Just running away.
Talking about this immediately. Let's just go through a couple of the greatest hits. We have self-proclaimed health guru Peter Attia. We have Scott Bessent, the Secretary, U.S. Treasury. Sarah Bond, the president of Xbox at Microsoft. Mike Cannon-Brooks, the co-founder and co-CEO of Atlassian. Michael Bronstein, chief product officer of Roblox. Bob Cialdini, the author of the book Influence, very well-known book. We have the co-founder and chairman of Intuit, co-founder and COO of Oklo, executive chairman of LinkedIn. That's, of course, Reid Hoffman. Sam Harris, Joseph Gordon-Levitt somehow got an invite. We got Tim Ferriss for their propaganda wing. Ted Cruz, of course, is in the club. He's a good, obedient little senator. Looky there. There's our fraud. Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson is in there, ladies and gentlemen. Jared Kushner, of course, gets an invite. Neil Mohan, the CEO of YouTube, which is why this video is going to be extremely suppressed. They do not want us talking about this. Elon Musk is, of course, a member. Fraudster Chamath is in there. That's, again, part of the propaganda wing with the All In podcast. Daniel Pink, part of the propaganda wing. Steven Pinker, propaganda wing. Eric Schmidt, who, if you're starting to doubt this list, just gave a graduation speech at University of Arizona. We reported on that here, where all of these students booed him every time he mentioned how AI is the new way of doing things, pushing one of their initiatives. Kim Scott, propaganda wing, author of Radical Candor. Whoa. Hold up. I got one more name that didn't make a lot of the articles going out about this today, and that name's a little contentious, which is why people aren't talking about it. Jeffrey Epstein was emailing about Dialogue back in 2014. It looks like a couple of folks in his circle were invited to Dialogue 2014. They asked him, is this worthwhile? He replies, Sundance is nice. Go. And then also says, so let me understand, you're suggesting tourism. So we don't know if he went, if he was invited. It looks like a couple of people in his orbit were invited.
Very extensive list of people, right? Very extensive list of people who are having conversations about where this is all going. And again, that just ties into what we were covering the other week with Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner in Albania with their resort, right? These people are trying to escape. They know the jig is up. They're trying to get a system in place that manages all of this as they just take their ill-gotten gains and run and try to hide. And then as society collapses, they'll pull the Great Reset switch. We'll have like a America, what's that movie called? The Purge? We'll have like a purge, and it'll be very bloody. They'll quarantine America. They'll say, hey, we knew this was going to happen. Here's the new way things are. Let's get America reformed. And that's just, it's weird to see all of these things just slowly happen. We don't know how long it's going to take, but we know something like that is coming. Trump shocks world leaders at G7 with bold reprimand of Israel's bombing of Lebanon and a chilling warning for Netanyahu. Yeah, it's crazy. We're starting to see Trump turn on Netanyahu, but at the same time, you know, it's weird. I started thinking to myself, is this how they're going to kill this man? Is this how they're going to kill Trump? Is it going to be like a JFK type situation where they kill Trump as he's trying to like get away from these people, from the Jews and whatnot? I don't think we can have the clip right here, but we do have one coming up. It says that according to a report from the Daily Mail, Trump voiced his frustrations while holding bilateral meetings with Qatari delegations, including Emir Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. The president expressed clear dissatisfaction with Israel's handling of its campaign against Hezbollah, accusing it of using excessive force and inefficiency. Quote, Israel is fighting Hezbollah too long and too many people are being killed, Trump told reporters. Quote, they should have just been able to do the job faster. He added, saying that, quote, you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody. There are a lot of people in those apartment houses, and they're not all Hezbollah. Lebanon's health ministry reports that Israeli actions have killed at least 3,783 people and wounded 11,000 others in Lebanon since early March, though figures do not differentiate between civilians and combatants. It says that Trump specifically highlighted its irritation with Netanyahu's decision to strike Beirut just hours before the United States and Iran were set to sign a memorandum of understanding on Sunday aimed at negotiating the end of the Iran conflict. Quote, Bibi has to be more responsible with respect to Lebanon, he stated. Quote, I'm not happy the way Israel has handled themselves with Lebanon and with Hezbollah. Yeah. See, man, it's interesting to see him try to pull away from these sneaky individuals. Very, very interesting to see what he's doing and their response as well. It's like, oh, you think you're going to have a peace deal with Iran? Boom, you're getting bombed. We're going to knock out Christian apartment complexes. We're going to blow up girls' schools. We're going to assassinate. We're going to assassinate the negotiators. You're not going to have any peace. Oh, you want to try to negotiate peace with these people? Not with Section 224, the NDAA. Not without getting us wired into your military. It's very interesting how we're being told that this is our closest ally, and we're not even able to have negotiations about a peace deal without these individuals somehow trying to destroy it and stay in power. Like, it's crazy. Like, these are, and every time I start thinking about Israel, every time I start hearing about them being our closest ally, I just start thinking about how you keep your friends close and you keep your enemies closer. Israel is our greatest enemy, and they are deeply embedded within our system. You'll see. Here is Donald Trump talking about Israel backing out at the last second. Backing out at the last second whenever they were setting up strikes against Soleimani. Sorry, go ahead.
And in some cases, women, mostly men, walking around without legs, without arms, with a face that's been blown to smithereens. It's Soleimani, 95%, 96.2, they say, or something. 95%. That was Soleimani did it. Happened to come from Iran, and I blew him up. You remember that? I blew him up in the Valley of Death. He got off his plane, and we followed him. And in all fairness, because they've been wonderful to me, Israel, but they didn't want to do that attack. They were all set the night before the attack. They informed me they didn't want to do it. So I had to make a decision. I made the decision to do it. But it was a joint venture, as we say in the real estate business. That was a joint venture between Israel and us. We studied it for a month. We knew what plane he was going to be on almost a month before. He only traveled on commercial airliners, big ones with lots of people, because he knew we wouldn't shoot him down. He's very smart. But we knew he was going to be on that plane, followed him, and then Israel informed me that they won't do it. And I had to make a decision. I had some very good generals, and not the ones you see on television, very good. And I want to thank also Pete Hegseth and General Raisin Kane, who's phenomenal. Okay, these guys are phenomenal. They can't be better. But I had some good generals, and I said to them, well, if Israel's not going to do it, we're all prepared. Do we do it? Do you like doing it or not? He said, sure. If you want to do it, we can do it. How well? We'll do it just as well or better. Do it ourselves. We don't need anybody. So we took out Soleimani. One of the biggest events to happen, the Middle East, maybe ever, but they say 50 years, they say 100 years. I was with the Prime Minister of Pakistan. He said it's maybe the biggest event that has ever taken place. Nobody could believe it. So that's when it started. It didn't start like 3 or 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, see, so he's just saying, hey, I did this. This was me. This wasn't Israel. They didn't trick me. Yada, yada, yada. I did this. And it was something I did a while back. But see, there he is taking blame for what these people have done and putting himself in the crosshairs of the American people. I don't know, man. It's just, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It looks crazy seeing Donald Trump basically try to fight for his independence with Israel. It seems crazy to see these individuals, ZOG, our Zionist occupied government, be captured like this, to see like America first and MAGA just be destroyed in 5K as quickly as it is. It's crazy to see all these type of things, right? It's crazy to see America dwindle in power. It's crazy to see the multipolar world order come in. It's crazy. Nothing that is happening right now is normal. Here's Trump telling his G7 counterparts that I'm the boss.
Hello, I'm the boss. How are you? Good, thank you. Okay. Thank you.
It's crazy. They think he's kidding.
Hello, I'm the boss. How are you? Good, thank you.
And there he is touching the pedophile protector, Keir Starmer. Yeah, that's funny. They think he's joking, but they know he's not. They know that he is in control. He's able to do anything hunky-dory and crazy to draw attention to him for the newsreel for a while they're able to cover stuff up. Whether it's Jeffrey Epstein, whether it's bombing schools, whether it's, allowing rape gang inquiries to get covered up, whether it's stabbings, all this stuff, he is the boss. It is the Trump world order. And that's why they've got him as the focal point for so much. And we've covered it ad nauseum over here on the show. You guys get that. But there he is, doing the thing where he's telling people up front the magic. Those people thought he was kidding. No, he's dead serious. He is the boss. And you guys are all supporting characters. And they know that. 20 U.S. states signed treaty granting Israel backdoor access to all smartphones in America. Why do I care about this? By Baxter Meachtree from The People's Voice, they put this up June 17th. It says that 20 U.S. states just sold out American sovereignty to a foreign power. There were no tanks, there were no troops, no declaration of war, just signatures, pressure behind closed doors, and a public that barely notices. It says that these agreements give the state of Israel direct access to your privileged or your private digital data, the power to flag you as a threat for what you post, what you share in private messages, and whatever you discuss with Grok, Claude, or any other chatbot. And it doesn't stop there. The agreements give them the authority to push for your detention and re-education. Yeah, see, we can't deal with that at all. This isn't a theory. It's happening. While politicians smile for the cameras, 14 states have already surrendered, and more are being coerced to sign up. Your data, your voice, your freedom, one of the largest transfers of power away from the American people is already underway. And the details are even more shocking than you think. This is the globalist endgame. The law-abiding are monitored, the dissenters are silenced, the public is stripped of one of freedom after another in the name of another country's safety and security. Yet somehow predators keep hunting, the trappers keep operating, and the normalization of pedophilia marches on, while the people who follow the rules are the ones losing their freedoms. Now, see, this is maddening and frustrating to me, because who is Israel to come out of nowhere like this and say that we're going to start censoring Americans? We're going to start paying their influencers. Again, this is something that we covered earlier this year. We found out that they were making anywhere from like $2 to $7K for posting on social media pro-beneficial messages of Israel. We now learn that this may be what was going on with Charlie Kirk as well, that he was also beginning to put the pieces together and turn on Israel, and that might be one of the reasons why he got shot in the neck, and they covered it up with radical trannies. Like it's crazy to see these people become like archetypal villains all of a sudden. It's like, yeah, they were always like this, but they came out of nowhere acting like straight villains, blowing up people with pagers, blowing up schools, blowing up little girls. And it's like, no, we're not trying to say that Jews run the world, even though there's a a high percentage of them that operate the top positions of the world. We're not going to sit up over here and make that our thing. But, for you people to do what you're doing, to take over our country like this, to have people like Senator Lindsey Graham get up there and say, hey, I'm going to go back to South Carolina. I'm going to go back to South Carolina and I'm going to ask them to send their sons and daughters to go die for Israel. That is absolutely insane. When have we asked any other country? When have we done this for any other country? So it's just absolutely crazy to see these people become absolute villains and just turn on us. And that might be one of the reasons why President Donald Trump gets killed, is because he begins to expose them, talk about it, call it out, and then he just gets JFK'd, or he gets Charlie Kirk'd, or he gets, pager bombed or something crazy like that, or something like this. 8 dead after B-52 crashes near California Air Force Base. This is by David Hawkins of Slate News. They put this up June 16th. It says that 8 people have been killed after a U.S. Air Force B-52 Stratofortress crashed shortly after takeoff from Edwards Air Force Base in Southern California, marking one of the deadliest military aviation accidents in recent years. It says that the bomber reportedly went down on Monday at approximately 11:20 a.m. local time on the Edwards Airfield in California's Mojave Desert, triggering a large-scale emergency response and forcing officials to temporarily suspend operations at one of the nation's most important military testing facilities. It says that emergency crews rushed to the crash site moments after the aircraft went down. Video footage from local news helicopters showed thick black smoke rising from a large burn area, with little recognizable wreckage remaining after the impact and fire. And so a lot of people have begun to link this down airport, this down flight, to Israel. They're like, hey, this is suspicious. This is kind of weird, don't you think? It's like, as we're making these declarations about Israel, as we're calling out Netanyahu, as we're doing this, that, and the third, all of a sudden we have planes falling out of the sky. Kind of strange. Kind of makes you wonder, right? So it's crazy how they're all getting prepared to go underground. They're all doing all this stuff up here, setting off bombs. They're shooting stuff. They're getting prepared for societal collapse, but not the elites. Nope. They're going underground. Check this out. Here's Stu Peters saying that Jewish schoolgirls in New York echo the Brooklyn tunnels. And again, this is echoing what we were doing with our Unfinished Thoughts episode 8, where we talked about underground bases and all of this just weird underground activity. Now we're talking about Jewish schoolgirls in New York in storm drains, and they're not homeless, right? We talked about that as well. Schoolgirls
in a sewer, a group of 71 underage Jewish girls in New York State got lost and ended up in a sewer being rescued by the fire department. And of course, everyone is acting like this is just, totally normal. There's no reason to be concerned. The local news even put out an entire segment featuring the local mayor telling the public that a bunch of little Jewish schoolgirls being discovered in a tunnel is a totally normal part of life in the United States of America.
Mayor, can you give us a word? What's happening? Some young girls, some kids, they were in the park, they got into the culvert of the creek and they started exploring, and then they ended up not really knowing where they were and they got a little alarmed. As far as I know from the police, I just got here a few minutes ago, As far as I know from the police, everybody's been accounted for. Nobody's missing. They're about to get them all on their buses, take them back home.
Mayor Joe Rand, Nyack, thank you very much.
This is the same tribe that was digging tunnels under the streets of New York City and filling them up with high chairs and stained mattresses. They love putting kids in tunnels. And this most recent story is no exception. They didn't get lost. They weren't on a field trip. None of this adds up. They didn't get in that tunnel by mistake. If you're wondering how I know that outside of my own discernment, it's because a local Instagram user took his cell phone and went into the tunnel where the Jewish girls were found. And when you watch his footage, it becomes pretty obvious. Nobody found their way into that tunnel by mistake.
I'm here right now at the sewer tunnel cave Munslandian nonsense. So you mean to tell me 71 Muncie girls hopped on these rocks like some sort of Munslandian hopscotch? I don't know. 71 of y'all, let's keep adding that up. 71. Why didn't the 57th one turn back around? Why didn't that happen? I'm trying to understand how all 71 of y'all went here.
So what the hell were those kids doing underground? What is it with Jews and hiding kids underground? What kind of pedophilic sex ritual were those little girls being forced to participate in? What kind of Jewish religious rituals are they performing in those sewers? These people are disgusting. And again, they have a fascination with molesting kids underground. Jeffrey Epstein did it too on Zorro Ranch, where eyewitnesses say that he was operating an entire underground warehouse full of kids. Another Jewish pervert, another underground lair. But if you ask brown foreigner and Shabbos Goy Lucas Gage, he'll tell you that Jeffrey Epstein and his accomplices were a bunch of Christians and that you're an anti-Semite for blaming the crimes of a Jewish pedophile on Jews.
The Epstein files they're eating children. I'm like, come on, man. He was a guy, he was a pimp. And that's it. And you know what's funny?
There are some people who are evil enough to do that.
Yeah, but I'm saying he was a pimp, and guess who's dead? Him, and Ghislaine is in jail. Where are the goy? Where are the goy in jail? It released the Epstein files. Prince Andrew, right? That's it. What about, so everyone else in there? If Epstein is a Jew to entrap Gentiles, then the Gentiles are being protected. The Jew is dead, and Ghislaine's in jail. What was it?
I don't know. I might have missed something. Is she Jewish?
She's Jewish. Yeah.
She's Jewish?
Yeah. I don't think she's a practicing Jew.
No,
but
whatever.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, who's being protected now? If Epstein's a blackmail operation, then all the Gentiles are being protected. The Jew is dead. He's dead. And Ghislaine's
wouldn't be surprised if you go through. There's
it's going to be all
probably non-tourist
politicians.
I'm sure there's bad Jews in there also.
I think it's weird that an official list hasn't been released.
It's ridiculous. But it's going to be non-Jews. It's not going to be Jew. If Epstein is,
I think there's going to be Jews in there.
Some Jews, but like what kind?
Right. There'll be plenty of non-Jews.
That's just the most recent Lucas Gage struggle session. Do you remember the one about the dancing Israelis? Yeah, those were fake. That's a trope, an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. The dancing Israelis don't exist. I mean, this guy is pathetic. He's disgusting. He's so brazenly sold out to these Talmudists that now he doesn't just deny the fact that Jeffrey Epstein is a pedophile, but he denies the fact that the Epstein class in and of itself is a Jewish creation. Once again, on the topic of Lucas Gage, I have been completely vindicated. He's Jewish, just like Don Jr., and he loves pedophiles, just like Don Sr.
Okay. Yeah, so there you have it. I had not heard about this story about these Jewish girls in New York City in their storm drains. That's crazy, bro. But I'm just like, what in God's name is going on underground? And clearly we didn't get the memo. Clearly nobody told us. We know about the deep underground military bases. We know about what these people are doing, but there is a whole separate class of people going underground as they begin to stir stuff up above ground. And for the final clip for this segment, before we hit a hard break, let's go ahead and play this video clip. It's like 11 seconds long. It's got 7 million views over here on Twitter of just Elon Musk showing you the Boring Company. It's a super boring clip. It's a boring device, a giant device that they put underground to build these tunnel systems or to build this infrastructure. This is not hyperbole. This is not sensationalism. This is not AI generated. He's had the company for years, and he's just been digging tunnels all over America and in other countries as well, building what Catherine Austin Fitz has talked about with the deep underground military bases, the over 170 different places where these people are operating. And if those are just the ones that are documented, imagine having a private company with all the money in the world to where these people can build their own networked infrastructure that bypasses the existing one that was there. What I'm trying to tell you is stuff is going to get crazy. These people are preparing to go underground. We're watching that as they're just stirring stuff up, and it's getting progressively wilder up here. But here's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a bit of a break. And then when we come back, we're going to be talking about the UFC 250, the fight at the White House, Hunter Biden and Gavin Newsom potentially being presidents, Keir Starmer initiating the ban for under 16-year-olds in the UK, and just people fighting here in America like this is a foreign country, but it's actually like a city council meeting. It's going to blow your mind. We're going to be talking about Western Reformation and more on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. This is Freedom Faction over here on Factions of Freedom, and we'll be right back right after this.
It's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. I look for the invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, possible human immortality, appalling acts of brutality, genocide, because the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed. The good news is that as primates, we're incredibly adaptable, going to be tested to the limits. What they see going on is the breakdown of all tradition, all order. They're quite right that it's happening, but they're quite wrong to conclude that it should be resisted or is somehow evil. The mushroom said to me once, it said, this is what it's like when a species prepares to depart for the stars. You don't depart for the stars under calm and orderly conditions. It's a fire in a madhouse.
You are both the pawn and the prize. Choose your reality wisely. You are both the pawn and the prize. Choose your reality wisely. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.